Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corman Productions, here to talk about This Is Us, Season 1, Episode 14, titled I Call Marriage. The episode's description reads as follows. Jack and Rebecca receive shocking news. Randall feels pressure both at work and at home. Kate's plans are thrown off kilter, and Kevin tries to win over Sophie. Before going any further into this video, I will tell you two things. One, this is not a spoiler-free video, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, please feel free to go check it out and then come back and watch my video. And secondly, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Now, I'm telling you right off the bat that this week I am giving Kate and Toby the skip treatment. I don't know if you remember where we were, but in the previous episode, Kate had gone to a immersive weight loss program. In other words, known as Fat Camp. I didn't really know what to make about her storyline, viewing it as we went along. I just didn't know what we were doing there. But I felt that this was an opportunity to do a deep dive into Kate's character. And we simply do not get that here. What we get is a Toby is jealous storyline. And I could do without that. Check, please. Oh, and also there's this little mini subplot where some kind of guy that's working around the camp is trying to get with Kate. And at the end of the episode, it seems like Kate is going to give in to that as he makes her way to his cabin. There's just nothing of substance here. And other than seeing Toby's shoes, there's nothing of value here. So as a result, I am not going to be talking about that plotline any further during the course of this video. We open up in the past timeline, where Jack and Rebecca are getting married, which eventually leads to a reception, which seems to be being held in some kind of restaurant, and Miguel is giving a speech, where the only laugh he is getting is from Jack. And I kind of feel like that's going to be my fate when I give a little speech at my best friend's wedding, which is upcoming. Anyway, the speech seems to indicate that Miguel and Jack have known each other much longer than the current episodes of the series are suggesting. So there is a little bit of a continuity problem. From the speech, it seems like Miguel has known Jack before he met Rebecca. But the current episodes suggest that Miguel and Jack were met when Rebecca and Jack were initially getting together. We have a little montage of the early days of their relationship, which is full of happiness and spontaneity and damaging showers in the midst of passionate lovemaking, trying to make love in the shower, which is overrated, by the way, and eventually settles into the marriage rut, which is where we find the characters in the teen timeline. This is the second time that we are visiting this particular timeline, and the only one of the kids that we see is Kate, played by Hannah Zeal, and that isn't for very long. The last time we were in this timeline, we did get hints that Jack and Rebecca's marriage was kind of on the rocks, kind of dying a little bit, that they were out of sync. This episode furthers that impression. They are getting ready to have dinner with Miguel and his wife Shelley, which seems to be a fun time until Miguel announces that the two of them are getting divorced, and Shelley makes a reference to co-parenting, while Jack and Rebecca are shocked, or rather shell-shocked, as they listen on in horror. But as we know, it doesn't seem like the whole co-parenting thing ends up working out. We do eventually learn that things didn't end up quite working out with that, as far as Miguel is concerned. We cut to a scene between Jack and Rebecca getting ready for bed. They're talking about the divorce. And Rebecca is saying, hey, some people grow apart. And Jack's all, no, that's BS. You meet your soulmate, you marry your soulmate, and you stay with them for life. You don't do that to your family. Rebecca seems to understand more that sometimes things don't work out that way, and not everybody is Jack. Jack seems to pick up on a signal, and Rebecca eventually says that she is not talking about the two of them. But Jack is not quite so convinced. We cut to the present-day timeline. Randall is arriving home from somewhere. Nobody in the family seems to be at the house. He eventually finds William at the piano. But William is unresponsive. He makes his way over to him, and he's dead. But this is all just a nightmare. He's woken up by Annie, who has apparently wet the bed. And this wetting the bed thing is as close to a storyline as Annie ever gets in this series. Beth and Randall go to their room, the girls' room, to take care of the situation, and they realize that Tess is not there. They find her downstairs playing chess with Grandpa. And they're a little perturbed by this because it's after midnight. Beth claims not to be mad, but Randall is very mad. And apparently the reason is Tess entered a chess competition and wanted William to teach her how to play. This is apparently happening tomorrow. Okay, wait a second. Tess has no idea how to play chess. She's learning tonight with William, the night before the tournament. Why did she enter in the first place? It's a weird little detail. Anyway, Tess makes a reference to William not being around forever, meaning he's going to die soon. She's quickly whisked off to bed. William sadly says goodnight. And then William says to Randall that she's right. He's not going to be around for much longer. But Randall seems to be refusing to accept this. And Randall is not a pleasant guy to be around much in this episode. He's in denial about William's upcoming death, or just simply not being able to handle it. And he's channeling that energy into anger. Most likely brought on by his anxiety problems as well. Because we're setting Randall up to have a little bit of a fall. And credits. After the credits, we see Kevin entering a diner. And hello again, Kevin. It's been a while. I've been busy ignoring you. At least I have during the first season episodes. The last couple of episodes of the first season, I have been straight up ignoring his plot lines because they were unbearable to watch. Well, welcome back, Kevin. He's here to basically talk an older couple out of moving to another table because he needs it, because it is where him and Sophie sat when they were together. It was the place that has significance to them, and he really needs the booth. And he goes on and on and on, as, Kevin does, because, his family is a bunch of speech makers. And eventually, the older woman says, "Did you used to play the Manny?" And yep, of course he did. So she asks him to sign a napkin in exchange for moving. And thus they do so. Kevin sits down. Sophie enters the picture. Kevin is happy to see her, but Sophie less so. In fact, she's yelling at him. I'm sure Kevin is used to that. It doesn't seem like she's gonna stick around until they announce some kind of fries that apparently they get used to have. That's enough to at least get her to sit down. After a couple of Kate scenes, we cut to Randall, who's having a meeting with Beth. And I guess I'll say that he's a bereavement counselor of some type. They're talking about making William's final leg of his life a more pleasant one. And Randall is clearly agitated during this meeting. He asks, "Do we bury him now or wait till he dies?" Drawing Beth's annoyance. And eventually he bails on the meeting because it's going into the afternoon And frankly, he's just had enough of the whole talking about dying thing that he just doesn't want to deal with. We cut to Randall coming into work, where Sanjay and the boss are talking. And apparently, they want to close a new client, which Randall says he has history with, and he could totally close the deal. But the boss wants Sanjay in on the deal as well. Randall says that he doesn't need an assist. He's been there for 12 years. But the boss insists. We cut to Kevin and Sophie at the restaurant. It seems to be going well. And Sophie ends up asking the question, why now? Why did you come and find me now? And Kevin says, because I never stopped thinking about you. Eventually, Kevin asks to know everything that's happened in Sophie's life since the last time he saw her. And apparently, she is a nurse manager at a hospital. And they laugh after some banter. And Kevin says it's so nice to talk to her. And it's good to pick up right where they left off. Which pisses Sophie off. Because where they left things off was Kevin cheating on her, destroying their marriage. So she takes off in anger. Kevin chases after her, and they end up on a train, a subway train. And after some heated discussion, they end up sitting apart on a train that unfortunately breaks down. Cut to Miguel, who is talking to his secretary, Heather. Jack comes in and asks Heather if they could have the room, and she takes off. Jack uses this opportunity to accuse Miguel of cheating on his wife with Heather. Perhaps that is the reason why they are breaking up, and it's clear that Jack is pissed off. But wow, way to be a best friend, Jack, accusing your going through the divorced friend of having an affair. And Miguel reacts with appropriate anger. No, he's not having an affair. And the reason that their marriage blows up is because they stopped doing the little things for each other. They stopped caring about each other. Miguel used to make both of them a cup of coffee. And it wasn't that long ago that Miguel just made a cup of coffee for himself and not for her. And she didn't even notice. There comes a point where there are moments in a relationship that you either have to dig in and do the work, or you just give up. And Miguel and Shelley gave up. We cut to Rebecca performing with the band, and Ben, played by Sam Trammell. Now, the last time that we saw this character and this actor, I had said that I hadn't actually seen Sam Trammell in anything. And then I proceeded to actually go and see a movie with him in it. He has a small part in a movie from 2017 called Say You Will, a decent coming-of-age movie that he's quite good in. He has a small part, but he is pretty darn good. And I would highly recommend the movie itself, if you like that type of movie. Sam, or rather Ben, has good news. Apparently, a booking agent saw them play and wants them to tour in the East Coast. Rebecca isn't so sure. She would need to talk to Jack because, you can't just take off from your family. Ben decides to say that, hey, if he loves you, he'll understand. And this makes Rebecca mad, saying, hey, look, Jack right now is going to work 50 hours a week and taking care of the home while I'm doing this, attending 2 football games for the kids in 2 different schools, just so they know that they have somebody there with them watching their games. So don't sit there and tell me what Jack would do if he loved me. The man is a superhero and you don't have any idea what you're talking about. And Ben apologizes, as well as he should. We cut to Beth, who is with the girls. She is going through a memory box that she made after her own father passed away, clearly preparing the girls for William to pass. Randall happens upon the scene and is clearly disturbed. He tells the girls to go help with the groceries. And then he gives Beth crap about preparing the girls for a death that hasn't happened yet. Beth wants the girls to be ready for what happened because she was not ready for her own father's death, and neither was Randall for his when Jack died. But Randall's pretty much completely unreasonable, completely unable to accept what's going on. You could say he's in denial, perhaps the denial stage of grief, though he also seems to be in the anger stage as well. And he tells Beth to stop using words like end of life and etc., etc. Randall, I feel you, man. Really, I do. But this is what's going on, whether you want to accept that fact or not. Randall says that he has a work thing to go to tonight, which is taking out the clients for a good time with Sanjay. But Tess has her chess championship thing going on, even though she had never played chess before and decided to learn the night before. But whatever. Randall says that he needs to go to this thing, but Beth says she calls marriage, which they don't really explain, but the general idea is that when one calls marriage, the other has to be there. Randall further tries to get out of it, but Beth insists she is calling marriage, and she tells him to change his ridiculous-looking shirt. I don't know, I rather like that shirt, but then again I have no fashion sense whatsoever, so there's that. After some Kate scenes, we are on the bus with Kevin and Sophie, who are sitting apart on a bus that is not moving. Eventually, Kevin makes his way over to where Sophie is and asks to trade seats with the guy that's sitting next to her. They start talking again, and Kevin references he's sorry about how her mother has been diagnosed with MS, and Sophie is curious as to how he knew that. Now, in Season 4, when we get a full backstory on Kevin's relationship with Sophie's mother, they were quite close, so it's not inconceivable that they would have stayed in touch. But the real reason is because Kevin has a fake Facebook profile that he's friends with Sophie on, and he keeps track of her through that. Well, I can't say I haven't done that. The train starts moving. It has gained power. The people clap, and Kevin tells Sophie that he wants her to know that he's changed. Yeah, but Kevin, you haven't changed enough, as we eventually will see. Sophie eventually reveals her troubled romances and eventually says that she is now finally dating a nice guy who is solid, unlike Kevin. The train stops. Sophie gets ready to get off the train. Kevin follows her and basically gives a speech about how he's never stopped thinking about her, never stopped loving her, and if he wants to give her a chance, she will meet him at the diner again. Cut to Tess and the tournament, where William, Randall, and Beth are watching, though curiously, William isn't sitting near Beth and Randall. He's sitting off in the corner somewhere. I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, Tess has managed to make it to the final round despite learning the game yesterday. You know, not for nothing, but if we tweak those lines just a little bit and say that Tess knew how to play the game, she's just getting some pointers from William, then this wouldn't sound so bad. But maybe that's just me. Her opponent makes a move, and then Tess smiles, looking at William, who is smiling back. Tess makes her move. Checkmate. She has won the game. And it's a lovely moment between Tess and William. And quietly, while Randall looks on, he asks Beth if he made a mistake bringing a dying man into their lives, if it'll ruin the girls. And Beth says, no, he didn't make a mistake. He brought them joy. Randall looks on with a mixture of pride and sadness. We cut to the past timeline where Jack is putting on a suit and soon greets Rebecca, who comes to the door. Clearly the talk he had with Miguel had an effect. He sent the kids off to sleepovers, and the two of them are going somewhere, but Jack won't tell her where. Zooming past Kate's scenes, we have Randall arriving at the office. Sanjay apparently closed the account, and Randall wants to go say hi, but Sanjay seems reluctant to let him do so. Eventually, the boss pulls him aside and says he's splitting the accounts, Randall's accounts, with Sanjay, and Randall objects. But the boss says it's not a punishment. He's still his best guy, but this is happening, and let's not make this something that it's not. Cut back to the past timeline. Rebecca is blindfolded, and Jack is guiding Rebecca to what eventually turns out to be their old apartment, the one where they destroyed a soap dispenser in the heat of passion. Jack rented it out for the night and has decked it out with some lights. The kind of romantic gesture that Jack is famous for. Jack goes on to say that he knows that they aren't Shelley and Miguel, but he wants to take the time to remember the newlyweds who lived in that apartment, because sometimes he misses them. Rebecca agrees, and they kiss. And then they suggest that they might want to try to see if they can break the soap dispenser again. You know you're going to have to pay for that, right? After a Kate scene, we are once again back with Jack and Rebecca. They are sitting in robes on the ground, and Jack has one more surprise. He pulls out their vows from his pocket. Cut back to their marriage, where Jack is reading the vow. He says, saying I do means saying I will, that I will love you forever. Some of this is intercut with Tess picking out a thing that reminds her of William before he passes, something for her memory box. I've been trying to focus on all the little moments that I don't want to forget, Jack says. But the moment that has been burned into my brain, and we see a shot of Kevin at the diner as Jack speaks. Sophie enters, and Jack says, "Is the first time that I saw you." Apparently, Sophie is interested in giving them another chance after all. And Kevin smiles. Cut back to Jack and Rebecca sitting on the floor. And Jack says, "Rebecca, you have changed the way I think about love. I know things might not always be easy." And Rebecca lets off a little laugh. She says, "That should have been my red flag." And Jack laughs. "Well," Jack says, "no takebacks now. You're stuck with me." "But our love," Jack begins again, "has always been worth it. I will always trust and respect you. I will create a home with you, full of laughter and compassion. I will raise a family with you." And we cut to a shot of Kate possibly going to see the jackass's house to maybe have an affair or cheat on Toby. We don't know. Not in this episode anyway. And once again I say check please on the whole Kate plotline. Jack says he will grow old with her. "I will share my dreams with you. So today, in front of everyone here, I pledge myself to you." Rebecca goes on to read hers, and she says, Jack, I fall a little bit more in love with you every day. In you, I have found my soulmate, my best friend. And we cut to Randall entering his own living room. Or rather, it's his bedroom where Beth is sleeping. He picks up a glass of water, but his hands are shaking. This is a bad sign for Randall. Over these scenes, Rebecca says, my lover, my best friend, my safe place. You are my great love story. And Jack Pearson. And we cut back to the older Rebecca and Jack. She finishes with, our story is just getting started. Rebecca says that they are going to be okay. And Jack says he knows. They cuddle up on the floor. And Rebecca brings up the fact that the band is about to go on tour. And she says that she thinks she wants to go. And that is where the episode ends. Jack doesn't exactly look happy at that revelation, by the way, though you don't really see much of a reaction at all. But I kind of interpret it as not being good. Anyway, that was a decent episode, though as I said, I was kind of annoyed with the Kate and Toby parts of this episode. I like the characters fine. I don't always enjoy the stories that they're given, as I've said plenty of times during plenty of videos at this point. The Kevin and Sophie plot line is fine. Pretty much necessary for where the story is going to go for the rest of the season, as well as next. For me, the meat and potato scenes were the Jack and Rebecca scenes, as well as the Randall Williams stuff. And the Randall Williams stuff is heartbreaking. Like, this episode and the next are really tough to watch because it's so painfully real, and we're basically watching William die, which is even more clear in the next episode. But we'll get to that probably sometime before the current season of This Is Us comes back. Next week, I'm probably doing a Quantum Leap video. But we still have plenty of time to cover the next episode, which is a really, really good one. A good showing for Kevin. And yeah, I won't say anything more about that. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join my 2 Facebook pages, the Corman Productions one, as well as the This Is Us discussion page. You can buy me a copy, which is a new way to support content creators such as myself. You can buy something from the Corman Production store on Zazzle. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is Dave from Corman Productions, signing off.